She poisoned my name to the family, and I stayed silent. They believed her lies. They whispered behind my back. They judged me without asking. But I didn't fight with words, I fought with patience, with tears and sujud, with dua. And when Allah exposed her, it wasn't loud. It was divine. It was perfect. This is my story. I never imagined that the woman I welcomed into my life like a sister would be the one to turn everyone against me. It started simply. I was newly married into a large, close-knit family. I tried my best to fit in, smiling through the awkward moments, helping in the kitchen, being patient even when I was overlooked. They said I was too quiet, too reserved. But I knew my worth didn't lie in how loud I was, but in how sincere I could be. And then she came. Her name was Hafsa, my husband's cousin. She had grown up with him, and was used to being the center of attention. She was witty, loud, and beloved by the family. When she came to stay with us for a while, I welcomed her with an open heart. I didn't see the signs. I didn't notice the smirks when I spoke, or the way she'd correct me loudly in front of others just to embarrass me. I thought, maybe she's just playful. But I didn't know, she had another intention. At first, it was little things. Someone would tell me, you should really greet more warmly, or you shouldn't correct elders even if you're right. I was confused. I never did those things. Then one evening, I overheard her whispering to one of the aunties, she pretends to be so holy, but when no one is looking, she treats the maids badly. I froze. That was a lie. A complete fabrication. But the auntie nodded, murmuring, I suspected as much. I walked away, my heart pounding. Slowly, I saw how they changed. My sister-in-law who used to sit beside me during tea now ignored me completely. My mother-in-law stopped asking me to help in the kitchen. My husband, may Allah bless him, noticed but didn't know what was happening. And they believed her. I wanted to scream. To defend myself. To bring out every good deed I'd done and say, see. I'm not what she says I am. But I remembered the hadith. Whoever remains patient, Allah will make him patient. Nobody can be given a blessing better and greater than patience. Bukhari. So I remained silent. I cried in sujud every night, whispering, Allah is sufficient for me, and He is the best disposer of affairs. And deep inside, I knew something. Truth never stays hidden forever. There were days when my chest felt tight, just walking into the same room with them. Their laughter would stop the moment I entered. Conversations would shift. And Hafsa. She'd smile sweetly at me like nothing was happening. One night, I broke down before my Lord in tahajjud. Ya Allah. I know you see what I cannot prove. I know you hear what I cannot say. I leave this matter to you. I didn't want revenge. I wanted peace. I wanted truth. He came home one day, unusually quiet. Then he asked gently, did you tell Farouk that she doesn't clean the house well? I was stunned. No, wallahi. Why would I say that? He sighed. She's upset. She said Hafsa told her you said it. That name again. He paused. Something's not adding up. You've never been like this. I saw doubt in his eyes, but also love. Alhamdulillah, he knew me. And maybe, just maybe, the tide was beginning to turn. As her lies multiplied, she began forgetting what she'd told to whom. One day, two aunties argued. Hafsa had told one that I refused to greet her, and told the other that I came to her house uninvited. In their argument, the stories clashed. Then one of them said, wait, where did you hear that from? And both answered at once, Hafsa. It was during a family gathering. Someone asked, why has this house changed so much? It used to feel warm. And another replied, ever since someone came into it carrying fire, that fire hasn't stopped burning. Eyes shifted. Some glanced at me, but more were now looking at her. She noticed. And for the first time, I saw fear in her eyes. That night, I stood in sujud longer than ever. I cried with relief and sorrow and hope. Ya Allah, you are the turner of hearts. If you wish, you can show the truth, and if you wish, you can leave me in this trial. But I trust you, completely. Then I whispered, expose the truth when the time is right. Let it be clear, undeniable, and just. I rose from prayer and slept peacefully for the first time in weeks, unknowing that Allah had already begun to answer that dua. One afternoon, I was cooking when my husband's cousin walked in looking disturbed. I need to show you something, she said quietly. She played a voice note. It was Hafsa, talking badly about me. Mocking my cooking. Insulting my upbringing. And worst of all, admitting she intentionally spread lies about me so I wouldn't shine too bright in the family. My legs gave way. She looked at me with pain in her eyes. I'm sorry I ever believed her. I feel ashamed. The family called a meeting. I was invited last. When I arrived, silence fell. They told Hafsa to repeat what she said about me. She looked cornered, yet proud. Then the cousin played the voice note. Her face dropped. Her confidence collapsed. All eyes turned. A respected uncle asked her, did you think lies live forever? Did you think Allah is blind? She tried to deny it, but it was her voice. Her words. Her crime. The days that followed were strange. People I hadn't spoken to in months reached out. Apologies poured in, from aunties, cousins, even neighbors. I judged you because I trusted her, one said. I should have asked your side, another whispered. But I didn't feel proud. I felt broken. Not because they turned against me, but because they turned back so easily. It takes seconds to apologize. But it took months to wound my soul. That night, my husband came to me quietly. He held my hands and cried. I let someone come between us. I believed shadows when I had light at home. Please forgive me. I wept too. Not from anger, but because I had begged Allah for this day, and it came. His heart was clearer. Our bond deeper. We sat together in the dark, grateful for the storm, because it showed us who truly belonged in our lives. No one chased Hafsa out. She simply found herself alone. The very people she had fed with lies now avoided her. Her charm faded. Her presence became heavy. And me? I smiled gently whenever I saw her. Not in arrogance, but in silent gratitude. Because the same Allah she tried to erase me in front of, lifted me in front of them all. And He did it without me raising a finger. It's strange how fast people switch sides when truth comes out. The same women who once whispered about me in gatherings now defended me with passion. She was always respectful. She never even responded to the hate. I feel bad. She didn't deserve what we did. The rumor Hafsa created began to die, slowly, painfully, in the same circles where it once thrived. Allah was peeling back every layer of injustice, one truth at a time. That year's Eid was different. I wore white. Not just because it was beautiful, but because it reflected how I felt inside. Cleansed. Free. The women who once looked past me now complimented me. Even the elders who once ignored my greetings embraced me with warmth. Hafsa, on the other hand, sat at the far end of the room. Quiet. Unnoticed. Alone. The tables had turned, not by force, but by divine decree. That night, I wrote a letter. Not to Hafsa. Not to the family. But to Allah. I poured out every emotion, the betrayal, the heartbreak, the shame, the patience, the reward. And I thanked Him. Because if Hafsa hadn't wronged me, I may have never seen His justice so clearly. That letter remains with me. A reminder that the one who is wronged is never truly alone. Weeks later, Hafsa came to my home. No call. No warning. Just her standing at my gate with eyes swollen from tears. I opened the door and waited. She looked at me and said, I was jealous. That's the truth. You were everything I wasn't. Calm. Loved. Respected. I wanted it all, so I lied. I didn't reply. She cried harder, I ruined your image. I almost ruined your marriage. I poisoned your name, and still, Allah honored you. I invited her in. She sat, embarrassed, in the same living room where she once spoke ill of me. I gave her water. Not because she deserved it but because I had peace. We talked. I didn't punish her. I didn't curse her. I didn't shout. I simply said, what you did hurt. But Allah is enough for the one who is patient. She nodded through tears. And in that moment, she understood what true strength looked like. Not revenge, but restraint. A week after her visit, my husband returned from a business trip. He held something behind his back and smiled. I have something for you, he said softly. It wasn't jewelry, not clothes, it was a handwritten letter. In it, he wrote, you showed me what true dignity looks like. In the face of slander, you became more graceful. I was blind, but Allah opened my eyes. Forgive me for ever doubting you. I wept. It was the first time I felt truly seen in months. I later learned Hafsa had started praying tahajjud. They said she cried every night asking Allah to forgive her for what she'd done. I didn't rejoice in her pain. Instead, I silently asked Allah to accept her repentance. Because when Allah chooses to expose a lie, it's not to humiliate, it's to guide. And that's a mercy. One afternoon, my phone rang. It was Hafsa's mother. I hesitated, then picked up. She spoke through tears, my daughter told me everything. I'm ashamed. We believed her lies. We hurt you, can you forgive us? I stayed quiet. I had no words. Then she added, you were the better woman. You made dua. You didn't fight back. You taught us a lesson we won't forget. And just like that, I forgave. Not because they deserved it, but because my heart needed peace. A family meeting was called. It was awkward. Silent at first. Then my husband spoke, we judged based on whispers. But now we know the truth. He turned to me in front of everyone and said, your patience was your proof, and I want the family to know, this woman is the heart of this home. Hafsa sat frozen. Her head down. No defense left. No one clapped. No one cheered. But Allah had spoken, through the hearts of everyone present. That night, I went into sujud and made a single dua. Ya Allah, you are the turner of hearts. Turn hers towards sincerity. And never let me forget that you are enough. For the first time, I wasn't making dua for myself. I was making it for her. Because healing doesn't only mean being right. It means choosing mercy when you could choose revenge. A few days later, I received a message. I'm not asking you to trust me again. I'm asking you to believe I've changed. Please make dua for me. I stared at the words. She wasn't the same woman who once lied about me. She was broken. And sometimes, that's what brings people back to Allah. So I replied with only this. May Allah purify your heart, as He purified mine. Later that evening, my husband and I sat on the porch. The breeze was soft. The sky deep blue. I should have believed you, he said quietly. I listened to her more than I listened to you. I didn't reply. Then he looked at me and said, I promise, I'll never let anyone's words define you again. From now on, your silence will be my proof. I smiled. Because that's all I ever wanted, for the truth to speak louder than the lie. Months passed. Then one day, I was invited to give a talk at a local women's halakha. The topic: Sabr in the face of slander. I stood before the women, telling my story without names, without blame. And in the back corner, I saw her, Hafsa, quietly crying, listening, nodding. She had become my silent supporter. That slander almost broke me. But today, I wear it like a badge. Because what was meant to humiliate me, elevated me. What was meant to isolate me, connected me to Allah. I learned that you don't always need to fight for your name. Sometimes, you just need to stay firm, and Allah will fight for you. Years later, Hafsa married a kind, pious man. At her walima, she pulled me aside and whispered, "If you hadn't shown me what real patience looks like, I would have never changed. I wanted to destroy you, but you helped rebuild me." I hugged her. Because in the end, it wasn't just a story of betrayal. It was a story of divine justice, healing, and transformation. And above all, a reminder that Allah is sufficient for us, and He is the best disposer of affairs. When truth walks in. One day, during a family lunch, an elder uncle spoke up. "We've seen so much drama in this family. But one person stayed silent, respectful, and strong, and that was you." I looked up, surprised. "People whispered, but you never cursed." "That's true strength," he added. "For years, I felt invisible. But that day, the truth walked into the room, and so did my dignity." My young son came to me later that night. "Mama, why do people lie about others?" I paused. Then told him gently, "Because sometimes they fear your light. But Allah always shows the truth, even if the world tries to hide it." He nodded. Then hugged me. And I realized, my silence wasn't just sabr. It was a lesson passed on. They say the dua of the oppressed never goes unanswered. I didn't ask for revenge. I asked for clarity, for peace, for justice without pain. And one by one, Allah answered in ways I never imagined. Sometimes, the victory of a believer is not in the downfall of the enemy, but in the growth of the soul. During a family gathering, Hafsa stood up. Her voice trembled. "I owe someone here more than just an apology," she said. She looked at me, eyes full of regret. "I was wrong. I lied. I hurt you. And you still made dua for me." Everyone went silent. She continued. "You didn't just forgive me, you showed me Allah through your actions." I cried that night. Not out of pain, but relief. Because Allah had written this chapter so beautifully. If everything had been exposed earlier, maybe hearts wouldn't have changed. But Allah's plan was perfect. He let the lie stretch, He let the silence build. Then He pulled back the curtain at just the right moment. And in that moment, He reminded me. Be patient. Your Lord is never unaware. Quran chapter 19 verse 64. One of Hafsa's sisters messaged me. She wrote, "I never had the courage to defend you. But I always believed you. I want to be like you. Calm in chaos. Soft, yet strong. How did you do it?" I replied, "I didn't. Allah did it through me. Because when you surrender to Him, He carries your pain like it's nothing." The same women who once believed the rumors, now invited me to halakha circles, Quran sessions, and gatherings. I didn't hold grudges. I welcomed them with warmth. Because sometimes people don't need punishment, they need proof of change. And my presence was that proof. It would have been easy to become bitter. To hate. To gossip back. To cut ties. But I chose softness, because the Prophet peace be upon him said, "Kindness is not found in anything but that it beautifies it." Muslim. And I wanted to be beautiful, not in looks but in heart. I found an old journal and wrote a letter to the me who was once broken. You didn't deserve the pain, but you handled it with grace. You let Allah fight your battles. You cried quietly, and Allah turned those tears into strength. I'm proud of you. I closed the journal and smiled. Because sometimes, you have to recognize your own growth. One night, I had a dream. Hafsa and I were sitting under a tree, reading Quran together. There was no tension. Just peace. When I woke up, I realized Allah didn't just restore my name. He restored my heart. In Ramadan, I made a specific dua every night. Ya Allah, you know what they did. But you also know what you did for me. Thank you for being enough. That Ramadan, I felt light. My ibadah deepened. My nights were sweeter. Because when your heart is free of hate, it becomes a garden for worship. Years later, Hafsa and I crossed paths again. Not as enemies. Not even as friends. But as two women who had outgrown a war that nearly shattered them. We nodded. Smiled. And moved on. Because not every story ends with reunion. Some end with peace from afar. My daughter, now older, once asked, "Mama, how did you stay strong?" I replied, because I wasn't alone. I had Allah. She said, "I want to be like you. Brave, but gentle." That was my reward. Not praise. Not recognition. Just a daughter who saw her mother fight with dua, not fists. One day, I was invited to teach a class on trials and tawakkul. I told them this story, my story, without shame or names. The girls listened, wide-eyed. And I ended with this: when people lie about you, don't waste your time proving yourself to them. Prove yourself to Allah. He never misunderstands you. Healing didn't happen overnight. Some nights I still cried. Some moments I still flinched when I heard her name. But over time, I smiled more. I trusted more. And I loved deeper. Because wounds that are touched by dua always heal sweeter. People think silence means weakness. But it doesn't. Silence is strength when it's paired with dua. Patience is power when it's anchored in faith. And forgiveness. It's a shield, not a surrender. Years later, at a community event, Hafsa walked in. She looked nervous. I walked up to her and smiled. Her eyes welled up. Not a word was exchanged, but that smile carried years of sabr, healing, and divine justice. I stood in Salah one night and realized I no longer felt anything when I remembered the pain. No more heaviness. No more why me. I had finally let go, and it felt like flying. Because Allah had lifted the burden. The one who lied about me, the ones who believed her, even my own moments of doubt. They were all part of Allah's plan. And today, I hold no bitterness. Only gratitude. Because Allah wrote my story with wisdom, and gave it the best ending. To anyone who's been lied about. To anyone whose name has been dragged. To anyone silently crying in sujud. Allah is enough for you. And He will never waste your tears. Hold on. Because the one who writes your story always saves the best chapter for last. In the end, I learned something deeper than pain. That truth doesn't need to shout when Allah is your witness. I was betrayed, slandered, and left alone, but I turned to the one who never leaves. And Allah turned the hearts. He exposed the lies without me lifting a finger. So if you've been wronged, don't rush for revenge. Trust Allah. Be patient. Because when He vindicates you, it's more beautiful than justice, it's mercy. May Allah be your defender when no one else believes you. Subscribe for more true stories of pain, patience, and powerful faith. Let this story be your reminder.